Most CS2 players try to make money the wrong way, opening cases, accepting bad trades, or holding skins that actually decrease in value. Meanwhile, I've been using specific methods to turn my inventory into a serious side income. So today, I'm ranking the 15 best ways to earn money from CS2 skins in 2026. From beginner methods anyone can try, to advanced strategies almost nobody talks about, and a few you should absolutely avoid. Starting low on the list, we've got weekly drops. This is the most basic way to make money in CS2. You play the game, level up, and Valve hands you a random skin in case once each week. Now you can obviously get lucky here, and some items in the active drop pool are actually fairly expensive, but the problem is that it's entirely luck based. The odds aren't really in your favor, and it's limited to once per week. I simulated 520 weeks of drops using CSROI, and it worked out to an average of 78 cents per week. A nice little bonus if you're already playing the game, but not great overall. This sits firmly in the D tier. Next up is the Armory pass. You pay for a pass, earn your stars by playing, and then get the chance to redeem items. This looks like a step up from the weekly drops since you can claim more rewards and choose which collections you're redeeming. Before we continue, this video's sponsor, SkinSwap, is giving you a skin worth up to $50 entirely for free whenever you do your first trade and use my referral code. If you want to refresh your loadout, you can trade your skins for brand new ones in just a couple of seconds. Plus, the new Chinese markets feature lets you purchase cheap skins from Chinese sites directly, without the need for a Chinese ID or bank account. They accept deposits via crypto, MasterCard, and Visa. If you need to cash out, SkinSwap makes that simple too, with instant sell options to PayPal or crypto. On top of that, they run free daily, weekly, and monthly giveaways, with the chance to earn extra tickets simply by trading. Use my link or referral code for a 3% lifetime sales bonus and a free skin worth up to $50. Big thanks to SkinSwap for supporting the channel. If you're smart, you'll spend stars on collections that are likely to rotate out soon, have a statistically high average unbox, and where even the low rarity items carry decent value. For example, the Elemental Craft stickers currently offer up a 117% ROI based on CS2 prices, and a lot of this return actually comes from the blues. Compare that to the Overpass 2024 collection, where most of the return comes from the COVID AK, which is only likely to drop 1 in every 781 redemptions, and has a negative unboxing ROI. Of course, keep in mind these are long-term statistical averages and are not guaranteed, especially with a small sample size and taking fees into account. Regardless of which you choose, however, every redemption actually increases overall supply, which is not ideal for long-term holds, and still requires you to spend hours grinding the game. Once again, a totally acceptable method for those who already play a lot, but it doesn't scale all that well and is still luck dependent to a certain degree. It's slightly more controlled than weekly drops, so I'll put it in C. Now let's talk about one of the methods almost every new player believes is the way to make money with CS2, but is actually one of the worst: opening cases. Of course, you see highlights of big streamers unboxing an expensive knife and want to have a crack yourself, but if we take a step back and look at the numbers, the reality is very different. CSROI shares these statistical average returns for every single case, and you'll easily see all of them are negative. Even the quote-unquote better cases, like the Hydra case, only return around the mid 70% range before fees, meaning if you opened infinitely many Hydra cases, you'd still lose about a quarter of your money on average. However, most cases actually sit around the 50 to 60% mark, and these numbers often heavily rely on pulling golds. I made an entire video breaking down the awful odds of CS2 cases already, so if you're interested to learn more about how these numbers work, check that out next. For now, this is definitely going into the F tier. You must avoid this if you actually want any shot to make some money. Trade-ups are where things start to get interesting. Unlike what most beginners assume, trade-ups are not random, and you can actually use a combination of smart collection, float, and pricing choices to your advantage. In doing so, you can actually find positive expected value contracts, which means the prices of the potential outputs multiplied by their respective probabilities is higher than the cost of the inputs, and means statistically you are likely to make money in the long run. Of course, even with a positive EV, nothing is guaranteed, especially if you only complete a couple of contracts, and again, you need to account for fees. You can visit sites like TradeUp Lab or TradeUp Spy to start, which share potentially profitable combinations and are a great place to learn. The problem is, once a contract becomes widely known, input prices tend to rise and the opportunity disappears. Therefore, the real edge comes from building your own combinations, and I like to use Skin Search to do so, which pulls real-time pricing data from a number of marketplaces. I have an entire playlist on my channel dedicated to finding profitable CS2 trade-ups, where I break down all of my strategies step by step, so check it out after this video. With that said, they're absolutely going into the S tier. It can certainly be a little time consuming to find good contracts, but once you identify one, it's often repeatable, and since market prices are constantly changing, there's always new opportunities popping up. As always though, I want to mention that this video is not professional financial advice. CS2 skins are virtual items and can be highly volatile. Past performance is not indicative of future results, so please do your own further research and consider your financial position before making any decisions. Now, let's move away from built-in game mechanics and into methods where you're actually making money from other sites and players. First up, we have skin flipping. The idea is simple. You find potentially underpriced skins and resell them slightly higher for a small margin. You're not looking for huge wins here, just small edges. This usually means trying to target discounted liquid items by going onto sites like CS2 and searching for skins using the highest discount or newest filters to identify listings that are under market value. Or you can look on Steam for skins that have a large discrepancy between the highest buy orders and the recent sales prices. If you can place buy orders far enough below recent sales to cover fees and still leave a margin, you can resell and pocket the difference. While there can genuinely be thousands of opportunities every day, this method is time consuming, margins are small, and it takes a lot of patience. You also need to have a good understanding of liquidity and take fees into account. It's a solid method, but not one I personally use a lot. I'll chuck it in the B tier for now. Next, let's talk about trading. The old school money making method. This is where knowledge meets sales rep. You're negotiating, trying to squeeze out a little margin with each exchange and understand what different people value. Stickers, floats, rare patterns, things the market doesn't always price properly that may give you the edge. Admittedly, trading has become a lot harder in 2026 than a few years ago. Everyone wants overpay. In theory, a good trader could grow an inventory without spending much money at all. But it does take experience, sometimes a good reputation, and a lot of time on forums, servers, or communities to find opportunities. An easy way to find people open to trades is if you look carefully at listing notes on CS2 where sellers mention they're accepting trades. But the time investment is huge for the return. For me, it's going into the C tier. It can be profitable, but the time required is just too steep, and people are greedy nowadays. On the other hand, a method that doesn't require much time or effort at all is entering giveaways. These might be found on CS2 skin marketplaces like the ones linked in the description below, on Twitter, or even other YouTube videos. It's a legit strategy as they're usually free to enter, but given your chances to win are usually close to none, it's not a very consistent approach. Therefore, it's going into the D tier. Still above cases though, as it doesn't actually risk any capital. Now we get into something most players completely misunderstand: market crashes. For many people, a crash means panic, poor decision making, and financial loss. For others, they offer up some of the biggest opportunities. Wealth transfers here from emotional investors to prepared ones. For example, in October, I was able to pick up field-tested Arrow gloves for just $918 and resell them a few weeks later for a $900 profit on the flip as prices recovered. The key is being selective. You need to be smart about the kinds of items you choose. If you keep a watch list of liquid popular skins that have historically rebounded after dips in confidence, crashes can be incredibly profitable moments. Once again, I have a full breakdown of my market crash strategies, including which categories I tend to buy into and where I actually buy and sell. Be sure to save it for later on. While it can be lucrative, it requires strong knowledge of the CS space, and market crashes simply do not happen very often. Therefore, I'm placing it into B tier. Now, when you buy skins during a crash, you can either attempt to flip them shortly after the rebound or move into our next approach, long-term investing. This is where you buy items and hold them for months or years in hopes their value appreciates. This is how people who bought hordes of cases for 3 cents ended up with inventories worth tens or even hundreds of thousands. I myself held thousands of glove cases that only recently sold off at $33 a piece. It's boring, it's slow, but historically it has worked for many people because the player base has increased, updates impacted weapon usage, or streamers hyped certain items, which resulted in heightened demand. Meanwhile, supply often shrinks as cases are opened and skins are consumed in trade-ups, so success here comes from understanding supply dynamics, discontinued items, and long-term demand. There are some primary investing categories like cases, filler skins, stickers, operation collections, and high-tier skins. Of course, there's also other categories like agents, patches, or golds, but they're a bit more niche and have their own risks. I often upload my top investment picks to the channel, so be sure to subscribe and like the video if you're enjoying. This strategy is definitely going to S tier and has been where I've made the most money. Up until now, these methods are known by most experienced players. But the next ones are where things start to feel like real insider knowledge, and you've likely never heard of them. Sniping rare skins is all about catching listings where the seller doesn't realize what they actually have. Maybe it's a low or very specific float, a rare pattern, valuable stickers, or even an expensive charm attached. To most people, it looks like a normal listing. To someone who knows what to look for, it could be massively underpriced. A simple example is low float field tested gloves. They can sell for significantly more than high float versions in the same wear, but not everyone prices accordingly, and some bot marketplaces like SkinSwap or Trader do not even factor floats into their pricing, which can create opportunities. The same goes for skins that are desirable for trade-ups. With the new trade-up mechanics, float combinations matter more than ever. Because float cap skins get scaled heavily, if you can find skins that have the full 0 to 1 float range and pick them up at very low floats for cheap, there's potential to resell them later for a premium. For example, I resold this 000 float Dreamblade for $15, despite the cheapest listings on CS Float starting at under $5 at the time. You could even set up buy orders to do this automatically. Further, if you can find skins that have a high minimum float, for example the Mach 10 Sakaku, which only starts at 0.21, you might also find that you can either resell them or use them in a profitable trade-up combination thanks to the scaling. This can essentially result in even a 0.25 float field tested skin outputting factory new. Then there are extras like charms or unique sticker combinations. Sometimes you can buy a skin at normal market price and effectively get the entire value of the attached charm for free. I'm putting this in the B tier as it can be time consuming and can require a lot of patience to resell, even if the margins can be strong. Coming up next is arbitrage, one of the most overlooked methods in the entire CS economy. Arbitrage involves identifying price discrepancies for identical items between different marketplaces. You buy from the cheaper one, sell on the more expensive one, and pocket the difference. This is simply taking advantage of price inefficiencies, as not every user checks every site before buying. Of course, there are fees involved, and the 7-day trade hold plays a role here too, so you need to ensure the margins are good enough and items you identify are liquid and not in a hype bubble. I stay away from stat track knives and souvenir skins, and usually anything well worn or battle scarred, as these can be hard to resell quickly. While I've always targeted more expensive items in the past, I've seen a lot more people mentioning they apply this strategy to mass buying cases, where there may only be a couple of cents difference between sites, but multiplied by hundreds or thousands, you might be able to find an opportunity. If you're buying on CS Float, you can also squeeze out a little extra margin by sending bargain offers to sellers. Once again, a full explanation can be found in my dedicated arbitrage video. I'm putting it into the A tier. Now, let's move on to something that looks like investing, but is highly dependent on timing. Short-term investing is all about anticipating hype or changes before they happen. A collection or case that might be discontinued, a map that could get removed. This is even more speculative than some of the other methods I've discussed, but when you're right, it can pay off quickly. For instance, in one of my recent videos, I predicted that the 2018 Nuke collection would be removed. So I bought into a number of Glock Nuclear Gardens and M4 control panels. Once removed from the drop pool, prices spiked. I had done the same for the Anubis collection package, stocking up on skins from the collection prior to the package being removed from the in-game store and selling into the spike. This can be profitable if your timing is right, but you can also get stuck holding items that nobody wants. It's higher risk than long-term investing, but you can potentially see faster returns. Short-term investing also sits in the A tier, and is an area I've personally put a lot of focus on in the last 6 months in particular. The next method is cash trading. You'll often see large traders or creators announce they're buying skins at something like 85 to 90% of market value. The idea is simple: offer people a quick, supposedly safe way to sell their skins for cash while keeping a small margin for themselves. While this can be profitable, it comes with a lot of risk at the beginning, especially if you are not experienced with trading or do not have any sort of credible reputation in the community. You also have to factor in payment fees, currency conversion, or crypto transfer costs, and there's always the question of who goes first in the trade. I would not recommend this method to anyone starting out, and please ensure you understand the process fully before committing to it. Otherwise, you can lose out big time. I'm going to put it into C tier because of these risks. Almost nobody talks about these final methods, the first of which is simply playing Faceit. Yes, beyond your weekly drop, you could also be earning rewards with Faceit. By completing weekly and monthly challenges, you're awarded points that can be redeemed for things like Steam gift cards or skins. It's not going to make you a ton of money, but for those of you who like to play a bit more competitively, it could be a small extra reward on top of something you'd be doing anyway. D tier. Finally, you could contribute to the workshop by submitting skin designs or custom map creations. The exact amounts aren't often disclosed, but users who have an accepted case or Armory skin enter into Valve's revenue share arrangement, where you essentially get paid royalties for every redemption or case opened. Over time, this revenue share can add up to significant amounts for some creators. Faceit, for example, has close to 20 accepted designs at this point. Of course, it's a highly competitive space with thousands of designs being submitted, and it takes real skill, time, and persistence to even have a chance. But the upside is unlike anything else on this list. It can genuinely be life-changing if you break through. Because of that potential, I'll add it to the C tier. So those are the 15 best ways to make money with CS2 skins in 2026. Let me know in the comments which ones you've used and if you disagree with my rankings. Be sure to check out this playlist all about making money with CS2 trade-ups, and take care of yourselves.